Hey, and welcome to another installment of Dear Deja. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know the drill. If you are here, go hit the thumbs up button. Go hit the thumbs up button, like the video. I'm going to give you a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you hit the thumbs up? Hit the thumbs up. All right. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. Becoming a subscriber lets me know how much support you're giving me, and you're doing it for free. So thank you, and I appreciate that. Also, stick around. Stick around, because I want to hear all of your commentary after I leave my commentary on this Dear Deja letter. All right, so let's get started. Okay. Here, oh, my glasses look a little crooked. Oh, let me wash these. Let me wipe these glasses off. They look crazy. Yeah, so how are you guys? Good morning. I know from what I hear, folks love the early morning Dear Dejas. They love it on the commute. It gets folks going. So, all right. Here we go. Dear Deja, I am the mom of a 15-year-old. I gave birth when I was just a kid myself, 17 years old to be exact. My baby father is 2 years older than me, and at that time we had been together 3 years off and on. We were young and damn sure too young to be having a child. Ever since my son was 3 years old, up until 10, his father was in prison. When he was finally released a few years back, the prison system let him out with something to remember them by: a nasty drug addiction. This disappointed my son tremendously, even more than him spending time in jail. He has pretended to take my son out to spend quality time in an effort to swindle him out of his allowance. Once my son took a friend with him to meet his dad in the park to play ball, and he stole my son's friend's sneakers. He is just an embarrassment to my child, so he has decided to cut ties, my son, that being my son. A decision that I had nothing to do with, but I'm being subconsciously blamed for. My son isn't mad at him for being a terrible dad. He's mad at me for choosing him to be his dad. Lately, his behaviors have shifted in school and in more recent times towards me. He's been ignoring curfew, vaping, and told me a few months back that I should have gotten to know who I was fucking before I made a baby with them. I was taken aback. Last week was the worst, though. It actually got physical after I caught him having sex with a girl at my house. Although it was only a push, I don't want to ever be the parent fighting their child or the parent living in fear of them. I don't know what to do. Please help. Signed, I'm afraid of the choice I made. Ooh, child. I need a drink for this one. Okay, hit the thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the thumbs up. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and stick around for my commentary so you could give your own commentary on this Dear Deja. Okay. First off, let me say to you, congratulations on baby boy and being a single mom. And, so to speak, up until this point, a successful one. Because like you said, things were going pretty well from what it sounds like until Papa Bear touched the scene. Right? So, praise God and thank God that you were able to still maintain and keep your son afloat while dad was not around. Right? That's number one. And, that's a blessing to be able to do so because not everybody can do that. Right? Okay, that part out the way. Number two is that I would have to ask, do you, I don't know if I'm saying did you or do you, because I know you said your son cut him off, but did you cut him off? Do you have any dialogue with dad? Do you and dad have any conversation? Are y'all cool? Because from some of the things that you shared that he did, you didn't share your reactions to them. It sounds like you pretty much are allowing your son and dad to have a relationship independent of you and dad or you and your son. Which I'm not giving this disclaimer no more. Y'all know what I'm going to say. I'm not a parent. I don't think parent advice, whatever, fine. But, I don't know if that's good or bad. The only reason why I will the only reason why I'm questioning if that's the case is because dad has not been around. No shade. No shade, no sunset, and no nothing else, but dad has not been around. Come on, this piece of hair. This is how I start playing in my hair, y'all. Dad has not been around. You said from 3 up into 10, dad was locked up. And then you said when he came home, he had a mean drug addiction. So I can't imagine it wasn't much time. Dad has not been around. So truth be told, I don't know how much does dad know your son. So the reason why I asked what was the relationship with you and how do you navigate things between the three of y'all is because you know your son. You're the expert on your son. You've been living with him all this time, whether dad was around or not. So because of that, helping to navigate dad, learn how to deal with his own son should have been at the forefront of things to do, because it's like, you don't know my kid. And I know it's your kid as well, but you have not been present. So let me assist you because I don't want you to fuck this up. Right? But it sounds like you more so took a seat back approach and allowed dad to pretty much do his own thing. Like, okay, you home now. You got this. Do you? And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just wanted to know, because then it would be like, okay, and that kind of lets me know what feedback to give you. So that would be one of my first questions when we get in our Healing Heart session. My second question is, what conversation were you having with your son regarding dad, when he was incarcerated, and, what does that look like, right? So did they have their own personal relationship where, he called every day and you took the son up on visits, so he's very familiar, or, you know what I'm saying? What does that look like between them? And, did your son have questions about him? Does your son worship the ground he walks on? Does your son admire him? Like, what's going on there in regards of what your son thinks of dad? You know what I'm saying? And not now, because we already know that he's stolen a friend's sneakers and he's taking your son's allowance. So, of course, I'm pretty much sure now your son has a disappointment and a disdain towards him. But I'm talking about, what was your son's feeling prior to? So we talking about prior to dad coming home and him pulling all these antics, and you guys know he had a drug addiction. What was the dialogue of surrounding dad? Because I know sometimes kids can kind of feel like their dad is a superhero. When I get home, everything's going to be okay, because, if you are speaking to your dad from there, he's telling you all the dreams in the world, and, everything can feel great and grand. And I kind of feel like that's what happened, which is why he's so disappointed with him want to come home, because it's like, it sounds like I feel like I thought she was a superhero, and now when you get here, I see you ain't nothing but a scrub, like that type of thing. And now, because I thought she was a superhero, and if mom, you was allowing me to think that, and now when I get here, I see he a scrub, and now I'm looking at you like, you ain't tell me he a scrub, you supposed to be my dog. What is going on here? Right? So I can see the young man being frustrated about that. Right? Okay, that aside. The choices that you make as a teenager can have a huge effect on you, right? But they're kind of not your fault. They're kind of not your fault. As a teenager, you are navigating life blindly. Okay? I'm here to tell you, anytime somebody brings up the 19-year-old me, I cringe. I don't want to hear about that bitch. Okay? I don't want to hear about her. I don't want to remember her. I don't want to deal with her. But I do know that, she's an intricate part of my life, because that's around the time that I started making some really, unhealthy decisions, and those unhealthy decisions caused me to later on shift and become a better woman. So the 19-year-old me, I need to want to talk about and be extremely proud of, because she is a part of my transformation. But anytime that somebody brings that up, I cringe, because a part of me does have some disappointment and disdain towards her, because it's like, bitch, what the fuck were you doing, and why the fuck were you doing that? Right? So the man that you chose or fell in love with when you were a teenager, that's to no fault of yours. You could not predict what his future would look like or what type of dad he would be. You can only go for how he treated you in the moment and what was going on at the time. Right? So for your son to hold that against you, what I think needs to happen is some transparent conversation about where you guys were at that time in your life. Now, granted, he's a teenager himself, so he may not understand, agree with it, or even give a fuck about it. But just so he can have the knowledge of it, because what I do know about young people, and I tell people all the time, I was never a parent, but I was a kid. Those things you don't forget. Even if you don't agree with them, you don't forget. And years later, it comes full circle for you, right? So I'll give an example. When I was younger and I was dating, I've always to anybody that knows me and they see me with Pookie right now, if you know me, you should be the happiest person for me on the planet. You know why? Because you should be saying, Deja wanted this her whole motherfucking life. So what she has is everything that she always talked about and everything that she always wanted, right? But that's because that's what I grew up seeing. That's what I grew up seeing. My mom and my dad were romantically in love and involved. It wasn't like my mom loved my dad, but he paid her dust and lived somewhere else. It wasn't like they were in love, but they had so much violence and drama. No, my dad came home with just because gifts. My mom cooked every night and cleaned. That's her love language. They cracked jokes. So, I only seen romance and love. So for me, when I got of age, it was like, okay, so when I go outside, I got to get romance and love, right? So now here I am, 18, 19 years old, in search of romance and love, right? And every time I look up, I'm going through a transition where a person is like, excuse me, what? I'm just trying to either fuck or have fun or just chill. And here you go trying to be all serious and build a future together. Again, that's what I come from. And I never forget when it got to like the second or third guy I was talking to and it didn't go in that direction. And I was a little hurt about it. And I was talking to my mom about it. And she was like, well, Khadijah, remember, you're witnessing me and your dad after years of being together. Yeah, we are here at this point now. But you don't start off like that. You don't go out in the world and just give any and everybody that you have a connection with all your love and all your care. No, you let things build and grow and blossom into that. And I'm looking at her like, what, bitch? Because I ain't seen no building and growing and blossoming up in here. I just seen y'all in love. But when she said it to me, again, like I just said to you looking at the person, I mean, the team, your son will be looking at you like what you saying in the moment. Girl, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? That's dumb shit. But later on in life, it made sense to me what she said, right? It resonated with me like, oh, okay, not everybody is worthy of that all-American, all-time love, and that really helped me in the end because it helped me navigate dating better, which is how I got Pookie, which is what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? But at first, I wanted that just with anybody because, oh my God, that's just what you're supposed to have. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to just have that. You're supposed to build that and let that manifest and let that grow, and that's exactly what I did, right? So anyway, I brought that up to say, you have to share with your son, what was going on at that time in your life so he can have an understanding. Because, again, like you said, if he's blaming you for making a poor decision or who you were back then, it's like, sweetie, who I was back then was a freaking kid. So let me give you the mindset of who I was as a kid. And granted, not everything you go into detail about with your young people because, you want to make sure they still view you in a high standing, but you also want them to know who you are as a person. So even if you don't want to share who your dad was, you can just share who you fell in love with because then that gives him a template to work from. And it may also give him some compassion towards his dad, knowing that who you are now is not who you've always been, right? Okay. That's number one. Number two, it's not your fault that the father is a fucker. Let me just say that again, Mom. And I want this to be very clear because I would say this to any parent. It does not matter the gender. It's not one parent's fault that the other parent is a fuck up. You know how many times you are watching TV shows or hanging around people and you hear things like, well, I don't be bothered with my daughter because she don't let me see him. Or I don't be bothered with my son because he don't let, excuse me? No, you can always be bothered. Just say that you don't want to go through the rigmarole and all the changes that you have to go through to be bothered. But you can always be bothered. You can always be bothered. You can always have a relationship. You can always make things happen if you choose to. And if a parent is making a choice to say because of one parent's actions they are deciding to deal in this way, then that's on them. That's not on you. That is on them. And you have to allow it to be on them. So that's why I said having some conversation with your son about, who you were and the decision that you made and who his dad was to you at that time, because it's also about making him clear that who your dad is right now is not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Now, what I can do is provide some comfort, care, and concern to you because it's affecting you and you're my son. But to pretend that it's my fault that he's a fuck up, no. No, that's solely on him. That's solely on him. Also, to be the punching bag for your son because his dad is not fair to you either. It is not fair to you either. It is not fair at all. 0%. Granted, you know what I'm saying? If you were a certain age and mature enough and developed enough to know what type of man you wanted as a father, then okay, maybe your son had a leg to stand on. But in the meantime, in between time, I didn't know what I wanted. I was a young girl and we were in what I thought was love. And you can also share with your son, you will have those same experiences as you grow and mature. Thinking you're in love with folks and thinking his friendship is this and thinking his family member is that. And then you find out as you get older, everything is not what it looks like. Everything is not what it's cracked up to be. So your father being a fuck up, that's not on me. That's not on me. That's on your father. And I'm also not here to tell you how to feel about your dad because that has nothing to do with me. That's between you and your father. But what I am going to do, which is part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10 of this, is make sure that you guys maintain some boundaries surrounding his relationship with his dad and his relationship with you. Your mama bear. Your mama bear, according to what you shared in this letter, who has been around and been there when nobody else wasn't, including dad. So I'm not saying that a young person can't be upset with you, but to disrespect you is totally unfair to you. Totally unfair to you. And while I would never tell a parent to give up on their kid or, disown their kid or any of the sort, but there needs to be, some better conversation and some better parameters set between you and this young person because that cursing, it almost getting physical, that having sex in your house like he in there paying bills, you're not grown. You're not grown. And just because your dad is not doing the best that he can and it affects you does not mean that you can start being disrespectful to me. And that needs to be laid out all over the place. It should never be a question of, he going through something, so I let him just fucking hear. Excuse me? I'm sorry, what? That's not what we doing. If that's a rule of yours, because that's another thing. It really comes down to who you are as a parent, right? And that's some conversation we would be having in a one-on-one session as well. We would be having that dialogue in a one-on-one session as well, which is, let's honestly say who you are as a parent and what rules you put in place. Because a lot of time with children, and again, I've never been a child. I've never been a parent, but I have been a kid. A parent will be saying something to you, and then you standing there with your ammunition because you got some ish to blow back to them that they seem to have conveniently forgotten this moment because they giving their argument. So you have to make sure that his issues with you is really about his father and not some deep down issues that he really have with you. Right? Because it's one thing to say, okay, you trying to act like I chose the wrong father for you on purpose, right? That's an issue you have with me, but that's still about your father. You need to make sure that he doesn't have any deep-seated or deep-rooted issues with you. So like, say case in point, you go to have some dialogue with him about, listen, I didn't like the way you spoke to me. I didn't like, and then he spit back to you. But remember when you did, right? If everything that he says is something that you really did and it's facts and it's law about you, then we have to address that, mama love. We have to address that. It cannot be, you just saying that because you're mad at your father and we sweep it over. Because if he's telling you in this moment that this is about you and not my father, we need to address that. Because what I see, what happen often the time is because parents give it all they got and do the best that they can, which I totally respect. They feel like a young person shouldn't have any feelings towards them because I did everything I could and I gave it all I had. Yes, and I really, really think it's a beautiful thing and I love that for you. But that may not have been enough for it. That may not have been enough for that young person, and they're entitled to feel that way. They're entitled to feel that way. And you're entitled to also rebuttal that. And you guys are entitled to have open dialogue about it so y'all could come to some middle ground. Right? In my mind, I was angry with my parents because we were not rich. When I saw all hood rich parents, I looked at my mother and said, how come so-and-so mother could buy them Jordans every month and do this and go on family vacations when we don't do none of that? You know what I'm saying? So I was angry with my parents about that. In what ways were you irresponsible that we don't have what everybody else had? And my parents acknowledged that, we can't do all the things that we would like to do with y'all, but also let me tell you what we do. And they also gave their rebuttal. And at that point, we met a middle ground. And the middle ground for me was, no, my parents didn't have a lot to provide materialistically. They didn't have a lot of monetary value, but what they did have was things that people could not buy or see, which is what makes me the woman that I am today. And I'm damn proud of her. So I was able to see all of the gifts that my family provided to me that didn't have money attached to it, which is what I was focusing on, which is what was making me angry with them. We were able to come to some middle ground. They were able to acknowledge that there was some things that they could have done financially to put themselves in a better position, and they just didn't do it for whatever reasons. They admitted it. They owned up to it. I listened to it, and we were able to come to some middle ground. But mama love, if there is some underlying beef with you and you only want to hear the beef he got with the father so you can continuously say that he mad at you about him, then you guys are not going to meet some middle ground. And he will continue to go on with the disrespect, and it will get worse. So the dialogue again has to be opened up to what's your real beef. And if it's only about your dad, okay, then we can have some conversation about what that looks like, because that does not involve me. That does not involve me. And what's not going to happen, which you have to make clear, is you're not going to use me as a punching bag because you're upset with your father. But one thing that I saw and learned too, in all my years of doing this work, is that people only abuse people they get reactions out of, right? If you notice, people only abuse people they get reactions out of. I'm pretty sure that if your son let on he had any feelings, any ill feelings or emotions toward his dad, his father would never give the same reaction that you would give. And I think he knows that you care more and you love more. So because of that, you're the person who's the punching bag. I see that happen. What I also want folks to remember, and not just for young people, adults as well, is that you have to be careful who you mistreat. You have to be careful who you mistreat, because you could end up losing that person because you're taking advantage, because they would take it in because they love you and they care about you, which is why you did it to them. It's not fair. It's not fair. And these are all lessons that you could be teaching your son just for adult life. Just for adult life. This is not just about right now or what's going on between you and him. This is going to affect how he deals with women on a regular basis. This is going to affect the female teachers that he has. This is going to affect the female supervisors that he has to work under. If there is some disdain and some disrespect towards women that he's harboring, every woman that he comes into contact with, he's going to relinquish that on. And especially the women who he feels like cares about him. You don't want to be the mom raising a son that has no respect for any of the women, especially the ones that are supposed to be important in his life, his children's mother, his wife, his sister. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to really get down to the bottom of what your issues are with me. What you have with your dad, we can compartmentalize that and we can find a way to help you work through it. But if there is any issue you have with me, we need to get through that and see what's going on. Because the disrespect cannot and will not continue. At least that's how you feel, and that's what you're saying. I totally motherfucking agree with you, because I would not fucking tolerate it. But, I'm not a mom. It's not my child. I get it. Right? So I want to be able to assist you. I've been working with young people for the past going on 16 years. I've been working in a transfer high school. I've been doing the work under the Department of Education. And I'm here to say that I am 10 toes down in my work. And I am so motherfucking proud of the woman I am doing that work. So proud. I'm so proud of my success rate. To have family members graduate from the programs that I've worked from. To see my friends' kids go off and be great because of the contribution that I've made in their life. So I love working with young people. So I'm here to tell you, if you need an Operation Heal 100 Heart session for your young person, I'll be more than willing to oblige. If you guys need a session together, I would be more than willing to oblige. Because moving forward, we have to save these young people. They will take that anger and take that trauma out into the community and get themselves hurt or hurt someone else. We don't want that for our babies. Okay? So there's work to be done, my dear. There's work to be done. There's work to be done. There's work to be done. I know it sounds like a lot. I know it's annoying. I know it's frustrating. And also I know it's hurtful. I know it's hurtful to have a kid that you have been there for their whole entire life turn around and basically give you their ass to kiss, so to speak, because of another individual. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. But, there's ways to grow from this. And I want that for y'all as a family unit. And more importantly, I want it for him as a young man. He's a young black man. We do not want him walking out into the world with all his anger and all his trauma and thinking people are going to be as generous as his mom and accept that, because nobody else is going to give a fuck, and he's going to get himself put in a very bad predicament. He does not want to repeat the same cycle as his dad. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, your girl is back. Your girl is back. Like I said, you should have 25 minutes ago hit the thumbs up on this video and liked it. You should be right now in the comments typing in your commentary. If you're a mom, give some feedback to this mom about her son. If you're a young guy, give some feedback to this mom from your perspective. If you've been working with young people, if you've seen situations like this, if you know a person that could benefit from hearing this letter, like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm all here for it. But you should be leaving your commentary. If you're a new person, you should be subscribing to the channel, and we should be making this thing do what it do. All right. Like I said, I appreciate the support. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this again. Live at 5. Live at 5. Live at 5 is a thing that I do every Tuesday and Friday at 5 p.m. I want you guys to call in on your commute home and talk that junk. It's about the hot topics. It's fun. It's lighthearted. That's where the human in me pops out and not just the healer. And it's going to be lit. Okay, so I hope to see you guys there. Thank you once again for all your support. I love you guys. And stay tuned for more Dear Deejas.